So I've got my little friend here, Ember, today, and he's going to be like the poster child for us. Just to, as I'm talking about this, to prove to people that, snakes are not, vicious, mindless creatures, and they actually can make quite good pets, when they're tame like he is. So Ember's just going to kind of hang out with us while I do this, but um, it's a shame that people are going to the measures they're going to when there are other options. Let me explain. So I totally understand the need to to correct the damage done on the environment from these invasive species. Now, Ember happens to be a ball python, so he's not really one of those species that they're concerned about. Um, but I'll get to in a minute why, unfortunately, sometimes they're still targeted, even though. So anyway, there are these giant, retics, Burmese pythons, and other really huge snakes, anacondas, maybe even, that people got as pets at pet shops, and they didn't realize what they were getting into. They didn't realize how big they got. They weren't educated, and they got overwhelmed. And a lot of these people, just over the course of many decades, let them go. The snakes are not native in that area, but they thrived anyway. So you've got a classic example of an invasive species thriving so much that it actually takes over and endangers some other species that, some of those species might have already been a bit, what do you call that, a bit threatened. Okay, so they're worried about the general, which I totally understand, they're worried about the general ecosystem, right? And they're worried about also, the ability for that snake to just completely take over if nothing is intervened. Okay, so what they've tried to do is they try to do some hunts randomly with prizes and things, and I totally get that that's good. That's good. You're trying to remove the invasive species and encourage people. But what you should do is you should get all your people out there, right? You should get all your people out there, and you should get a full sweep through. Humans have more than proven that we're capable of annihilating any said species, whether on purpose or not. And so, unfortunately, if it's doing that much damage, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in killing off every last thing, okay? Unless you absolutely have to for the environment. But I'd rather just relocate it to its natural habitat, okay? I understand in certain circumstances, if you have too many, you can't always do that, okay? So maybe, but I don't understand really the purpose of having somebody go to somebody's house. Okay, this is a totally different aspect. Somebody who, it's one thing if you purchase the animal after it became illegal, but some of these people have had these as pets for a decade or more, and they're going to their houses, showing up and saying, okay, well, you're not allowed to have this animal anymore, therefore we have to kill it, like right in front of you. And, a lot of these animals are people's pets. They're, mostly I would say people's pets, unless they're breeders. But even some breeders view them as pets. And so instead of just saying no sale or purchase and leaving it at that, think about that. We do that with all sorts of animals and we don't kill them. Tigers, bears, endangered species, whatnot. They're dangerous, quite dangerous, I guess. You could argue even more dangerous than something like this, especially, but, even a big snake. So, and most of the time they don't kill those. They just remove the animal, but they don't kill it unless it's out of control aggressive. Then they might. But if they can work with it, and even then, a lot of times, if it's really aggressive, they just relocate it to some, nature preserve somewhere or zoo or something. So why can't you do that with these? It's just like you've done that with every other animal. That's illegal. That's the way you've done it. And when it comes to those big snakes, you're just coming in and slaughtering and culling all of them. And like I said, some people, it's been their pet for over a decade. Okay. And I know I can speak for a lot of people when I say, and me included, if you ever got, let me just say this, if you were going to chop his head off, I would get in between you and him, and I would be prepared to try and chop your head off instead. And I'm not joking. You'd have to kill me and win the fight to get to him to chop his head off. That's just what I would do. I would not be able to contain myself. I mean, he's like a child to me. I mean, it's no different than any other pet. And, I have a lot stronger bond with my pets than a lot of other people. I do consider them children. So, it's like watching someone come there and kill off your child, chop the head off your child. Especially when your child is, a very well-mannered, behaving child that's never bitten anyone, that's never hurt anyone. And it's very difficult for me to understand how that can constitute such a reaction, when all you really have to do is ban the sale and purchase and breeding of those animals. Okay. Anybody who has purchased it before it got illegal, in my opinion, should be allowed to keep it, especially if it's just a pet that's minding its own business, that's not aggressive. I think they should be able to keep it. And they can't. That's bad enough, right? You'd argue that's bad enough. Okay. They're already going about it all wrong. You have to understand that these people are trained to say, okay, this is a ball python. Don't kill it because it's not on the list of things to kill, okay? They're trained to tell the difference between maybe a ball python and a baby retic, for example. And to be honest, they're not that different to tell apart, okay? So what I struggle with is, if it's, I mean, how can you say it's a mistake when you're standing there seeming to be quite jolly about it? I mean, look at that expression, seeming to be quite jolly about what you're doing, and then getting defensive and angry and saying it was a mistake, get over it, stop telling me this, instead of being like, oh my god, what did I just do? What the fuck did I just do? You're just getting annoyed, that they're angry with you because you made a mistake. You're just getting annoyed, and ahead of time, you were told point blank, there is a pregnant, what I believe it was some kind of red-tailed boa or something. I don't know if it's just some kind of boa. Okay, it was not on the kill list. It was supposed to be left be, and they were warned ahead of time by multiple people. There's this pregnant, boa in there. Don't kill it. And, what does he do? He has this smirky grin on his face as he's pulling it out. It makes me think that he already knows that that's the pregnant boa. He already knows that he's not supposed to kill it, and he doesn't fucking care. There's a lot of people on that team, and not all of them, I don't think all of them are trained to recognize, okay? Because it takes them a while to figure out their mistake. And if they are trained, then they weren't paying much attention. They were just methodically going about it and not which I kind of understand if you've got, 30 plus to go over and look through, how you might get methodical about it and say, wait a minute, that's the wrong species. Wait, you might just, I can understand how that could happen. But there's so many people that were there, and probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 people that were there. I'm sure some people were just kind of there to help, and weren't really much high up on training. So, but the guy that pulled it out, he was one of the people that were, you could tell he was taking a leader role. He was the one killing them. He was the one, either restraining and or killing them. He and actually the lad that's in the uniform. The lad that's in the uniform doesn't really say anything, doesn't react that much, so you don't really know what he's thinking. But the one in the blue shirt, well, this is why I like people like this. The one in the blue was literally having a panic attack, and he was beside himself saying, what the fuck did we just do? Not only was he afraid of what the owner was going to, how the owner was going to react, but he genuinely seemed to be in real remorse for this pregnant boa that was not supposed to be killed. He kept saying things, like, why did you do this and all that. And, it's just, it seemed to me like an actual reaction of regret, not just panic, but also regret. So at one point, somebody finally takes the camera off, and I don't know who that is really. There are people in the background saying, well, can't we at least, save the babies? And, apparently it was not far enough along that they could save the babies. So, basically the mother and all the babies died. I've seen a lot of things on, the news saying about that, the money aspect of it. And I'm sitting here telling you that I don't give a fuck about the money. If that's my snake, that's what I'm thinking last. First I'm thinking, well, this poor animal died for no reason. I'm already fucking pissed that a lot of my other animals die for no reason, really. But this was legal to own, and they killed it anyway. And that would have set me off, and I just couldn't have kept my composure at all. So the fact that, this one lad in the grey shirt is just shrugging his shoulders, and at one point even texting, as they're saying, why did you do this? What the fuck have we done? He's sitting over there texting. He's got this smirky grin on his face before he kills the boa, and he's sitting over there texting. Quite ironic to me that it happens to be a pregnant boa, right? Why not some other boa? He has a bunch of other ones. Why did he target the pregnant ones? Why is that the only one he targeted when he has other boas? I think it's because it was pregnant. He thought to himself with this smirky grin on his face, I am going to kill, 30 snakes by killing this one snake. And I think he got a kick out of that. I do. Because of the look on his face and the fact that he's fucking texting right after it happens and everybody's like beside themselves except him. He's over there fucking texting and smirking as he texts. Probably taking a picture of the dead boa and posting it on social media and with smiley faces, So that's what he's doing. That just says it all right there, that it was not an accident. Because if it was truly an accident, you would not have that demeanor. You would not act like that. And in my personal opinion, the odds of you picking a pregnant boa, if it was a mistake, when there's dozens of other boas in there, it doesn't add up. Nothing adds up. So I would argue that it was on purpose. He was one of the, like I said, one of the people leading the event. So you'd happen to think that he was also somebody that was well educated and knows better. So, basically you've got this lad that just ordered to kill this animal on his own free will, and instead of following the orders of the government, deciding, hey everybody, just let's get this out and do it, and hopefully no one will notice. Honestly, I would say that there's probably more than one person in on it, because how can no one else know, So I think there's more than one person in on it, but I think that beady-eyed, neo-Nazi, Abrahamic, just that's what it was that made me focus on his reaction, because it was very like a cult style reaction. And honestly, I mean, that's not too far-fetched. I mean, those people fucking hate snakes. They do. They hate snakes, like with a passion. And if it's a big snake, I'm sure the bigger it is, the more they hate it. So, not that out of the question. They think snakes are like a symbol of the devil. Those creepy culty people, I mean, they're out there. I'm not saying he's one of them, but I'm saying, like, he obviously did this out of hatred for the animal. And you can speculate all day as to why. But he definitely does hate the snake, And if you're here doing that as a job, and you hate them so much that you're willing to go against protocol and kill something that's 100% legal to own, then you shouldn't be having that job. Okay? Anyone, I don't care whether it's an animal or a human or whatever, anyone who is tasked with the delicate balance of life, whether that be trying to keep somebody alive or trying to cull something and kill it, anyone tasked with anything like that has the ability to either save or end a life, you shouldn't have that job if you have that much rage and bias and just evil inside you. You just shouldn't have jobs like that. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. And innocent animals, especially, that have done nothing wrong, that, like I said, just fucking sit there, and don't do anything. I mean, have you seen him do anything? No, other than crawl around me and not know where to go. We're still neck training him, so he doesn't really know what that's about. But yeah, he wiggles and crawls and things, but has he done anything bad? No. It's like a lot of people just think if I hold this thing right up to me, that the first thing it's going to do is try to like either bite my face off or constrict me or something. And what is he doing? He's totally ignoring my neck and just crawling away. So, and I got an itch too. So people think if you move, that they'll bite you. Okay, so I'm scratching my itch and he's still just like barely even moved. Okay, so he's totally ignoring me. I think he's asleep. Are you asleep? Did you fall asleep? Okay, you're not asleep, but he is ignoring me. So, it's just, I mean, I don't understand where the fear comes from, but if you are afraid of him, I don't blame you for your fear. Just don't turn your fear into hatred. I'm telling you right now, if I had that job and someone told me, go out and kill off all these aggressive snakes that are maybe eating people's children and eating people's pets out in the wild, or eating endangered animals and causing a disruption in the ecosystem, I'd say, okay, on one condition though, that these animals don't go to waste and that we can eat them. And I most definitely would never, if they told me to go to someone's house and slaughter their pet that is sitting there minding its own business, if it's full grown, there's no way that it's going to be just released into the wild, okay? If they've kept it for that long, they're not going to release it into the wild. So it's not about saving the ecosystem at that point. No, it's not. There's different motive at that point, because there's no threat of that animal ever going into the wild. You know, people release them after a few years. They don't wait 10 years plus. They don't wait multiple decades. So, you know, as long as they're not breeding them and selling them, I think they'd be fine. And if it's an innocent animal that's not aggressive and you ask me to kill it, this is what I say to you: bye, I quit. Okay, because the animal's sitting there minding its own business. It's not done anything wrong. Okay. And I do kind of feel bad for the snakes out in the wild, because it's not their fault that someone placed them there. It's not their fault that, you know, now they're overpopulated in a ecosystem that wasn't meant to handle them. They're just trying to survive. They're not really vicious beasts, not even the wild ones. Yeah, I mean, if you get close to it and upset it, it's going to try and hurt you because it thinks you're going to kill it or eat it. But unless you're a toddler or a small cat or dog, I mean, they don't see you as prey. So, you know, it really is not much different than any other predator that's out there, really. And I'd argue some predators, like a mountain lion, you know, those pumas, they do see humans as prey. So, you know, I mean, it's just an animal trying to survive, and you're punishing it for your own mistake. You know, you're punishing it for being a snake. You know, that's kind of what they do. That's what they're good at, you know, and they don't know how to do it or be anything else, because that's just what they are. You can't blame them for it. So even though the ones in the wild, you know, I wouldn't recommend getting close to, because they could be quite dangerous, if you leave them be, they usually leave you be. And like I said, the imbalance to the ecosystem really isn't their fault. So I do feel bad. But I do understand that they do have to be hunted, because otherwise that ecosystem's going to completely fail one day, due to the invasive species there. So I do understand that. And like I said, going back to humans are, you know, they're unfortunately really good at making animals extinct. So to say that you can't do that with the invasive species there is bullshit, number one. Number two, because you're spending all that money going to people's houses door to door, I'd argue that is just as much or even more money than what it would take to just, you know, do a good thorough sweep through out in the wild. And then, like I said, make sure that the purchase and the sale of anything, you know, else, anything new, is banned. So that means that, okay, if you've got one of these animals, you can no longer breed it, you can no longer sell it, but we're not gonna like murder it. Okay. That meat you can use either to help people who don't have food, you know, and help hunger, or you can use the meat to help reimburse some of the funds that you had to do to get all your people out there, and whatever money that cost to do that, maybe you can use that to reimburse. And to a certain extent, they're trying to do that with the prizes when people go out and hunt. But like I said, that's too small of a scale right now to really do a full sweep through. So, yeah, it's a sad story all the way around. It's a sad story for the wild snakes. It's a sad story for the ecosystem. It's a sad story for especially people who have grown attached to the animals. And utmost, it's a sad story for animals that get mistaken and, you know, for these vicious beasts when really they're just sitting there minding their own business that wouldn't hurt a fly. You know, that's what bothers me. The innocence, the things that are just sitting there not bothering anyone. I feel like there should at least be a rule on that. You know, if it's not aggressive, just leave it be. In fact, why not do this? Okay, light bulb moment, because apparently you haven't thought of it, but be honest, it's fucking common sense. It's not really a light bulb at all. It's common sense. Why not do this? Okay, why not, if you're so worried about it and you're willing to kill the animals? Okay, you're already there, right? You're already there. You're already there. You're willing to kill the animals. Why not, if you're going to that much trouble door to door, why not just spay and neuter? I mean, why not? That way the animal lives and there's no way that it can breed. So why not do that? I mean, how long would it take you to think of that on your own? Forever? Actually, no, you probably already thought of it, you just didn't want to do it. So, everybody, say thank you to our little friend Imber here, who has been very patient with me as I do this. We're going to actually probably have him in a few other videos coming up, so if you want to see more of him, and I don't know exactly when, but I try to bring him out as much as possible, as long as he's not, you know, shedding or something. So if you want to see more of him, then we'll probably have him in some more up to come. So I don't know what topic it's going to be, but we're going to try to get him more. So, but yeah, last thing I want to say is, I think a lot of the issues with snakes is a misconception as to, you know, what they really are. And if you can have somebody, especially at a young age, but really any age, understand by experience that these animals are not out to get you and that they can actually be quite tame. Okay, so if you have a snake like Imber, really, if you have any snake, large, small, as long as it's not poisonous and as long as it's docile like he is, okay? What are you doing, Imber? Funny. If you've got a noodle, make a video with your noodle and show people just how harmless your noodle is. So there you go.